This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Duty into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. I'll be reading from excerpts from WikiLeaks. These are the DNC emails. I started surfing around that website. And it's boring. There's probably some useful information in there, useful in terms of political change. But for one person, some guy like me, some middle-aged American near the Lincoln Tunnel with time to burn on a Sunday, all of a sudden casually turns his attention to this database. It's conceivably impossible that anyone who meets a description I just gave or some other casual version of the description, a person will just not find anything meaningful in terms of politics. So after about an hour on the database, I decided I would do something. And so here is my something. This is, I've already described what this is not. This is not an attempt to be politically relevant. Although I had that idea initially. It is not an attempt to be politically relevant. And as Julian Assange speaks of his organizations, they organize, they curate, they have the highest standards they can possibly have to make sure their information is credible. And I listen to his words and I see it in his database. He has reconciling pieces of information that can potentially validate the whole database. You know, names and phone numbers, social security numbers, credit card numbers. And so I'm doing the opposite. I'm making no intention of being credible. I have pulled out the identifying information. So what am I trying to accomplish at all? I am not putting search words. I'm not having searchable keywords. So what I am doing is being a stop for my existing readers. Oh, this might be kind of interesting. And then they might go themselves to Wiki and get what I'm not giving. Again, Julian Assange, I think I'm going to stand here most of the time. This is Tom Duty. I'm saying this, what I put in the video and the text script that I put in my blog, it's not traceable. There's no useful keywords. Nobody's going to find it except people that stop at my website first by chance. Now here's Julian Assange. Julian Assange is doing everything to have search words, to make it curatable, make it searchable, make it useful, make it credible, so that if something relevant is found, it can stand up to evidence that would be recognized in a court of law. So in other words, I'm saying people are already on my website reading for their own reasons, and they might be directed to Julian Assange's site to find the source of what I'm reading. So without any more delay, I begin. So let me be very specific. The text that I read here, I will try to give words that can, in a series, can be searchable, and then this actual email can be found. So if I say something that's interesting, perhaps it will trace to the Wiki database, and then whoever hears something of interest from me in the next 3 minutes will then have the ability to go find the real, credible, searchable, validated version. That's the idea. I had too much time in this thing to turn back and say it was worthless. So this is, by my estimate, this is almost worthless, but at least it documents something that I've done. So here's the first one. Anji, which is A-N-J-I, and the family name deleted by duty. I read that a couple of times. Family name deleted by duty, or something deleted by duty. Was Gordon Brown and Tory Blair's private secretary. Listeners, I'm keeping the public figures. Gordon Brown and Tony Blair. Obviously, someone can find out who Angie is. Her husband is the main reporter for Sky News. Anyway, I can help accommodate her request to get into the convention in Philadelphia, question mark. And in this case, they're writing Lou. Makes me wonder, did that person get in the convention? Don't know. Excerpt 2, excerpt dos. The one question I need to get a handle on is whether I give, is what I get, what I get, what do I get if I give 33,400 by June 1 to Victory Fund, either from campaign or the DNC. And how does that compare to being a hill raiser? I've already lost track. I think that was excerpt dos. I'm going to excerpt tres. JK Ralph, family name deleted by duty, is asking White House, they abbreviate WH, is asking for WH Cinco de Mayo tickets. Can you help him and his wife? I don't know why he waited until now. So listeners, you can't tell me this isn't fun. I don't know why he waited until now. And yes, listeners, you can go to the database and find out who wrote that. You can't find out from me, but you can do a little more research. Don't know why he waited until now. Excerpt blank. I've lost track. I think quattro. Hey, I caught this sinus sore throat thing that's been going around. It got way worse last night. I'm going to lay low today, if that's okay. With you, I'll be on my cell. Excerpt cinco. I'm coming to DC next week, wondering if you would be willing to have a coffee with me to discuss some career stuff. I would love to be able to hear more about the DNC and what you do. Lucy has been very kind to me, trying to hook me up with people who may be able to help. So much, thanks so much in advance. So the phrase hook up doesn't always pertain to sex. This is excerpt says, hi team, unfortunately I've been on the phone with reporters, couldn't make the call. Now the next term, again, public figures, these names are in subjects of emails. Jimmy Kimmel and Bloomberg ... So obviously if you search this database for Bloomberg, you're probably going to get several hundred hits. Reader's note, listen, reader's note, Bloomberg ... will get you directly to the email I found. I have no text from inside that email. It's my only note from the email. Bloomberg ... Also, Jimmy Kimmel is the subject of a email on the same day. Continuing. Yes, I need confirmation on new day. Can we lock in? Excerpt next. Proximo expert. How about if I do that? Proximo excerpt. It was great to see both of you this weekend. Thanks for hosting me for dinner. I appreciate the opportunity, but was especially glad to catch up with your team in the pre-reception. I've seen excerpt Proximo expert. I've seen Ms. Wasserman Schultz say it's great that Sanders plans to stay in until the votes are counted, but he's talking about contesting all the way to the floor, even if Clinton has more pledged delegates. Proximo excerpt. I write you a lot, Luis, for so many different reasons. Sometimes I'm asking you to make a contribution to help get more Democrats elected across this country. Sometimes I'm asking you to take a stand against the folks who want to do everything we've worked so hard for these past 7 years. But today I just want to say something else. Thanks. Thanks. The name Ken Vogel is the subject of an email. I assume Ken Vogel is a public figure. That's why I left his name. I don't know. I don't have any text from inside that email. Hope you are well. Just a quick heads up. I am free agent looking for a political or communications opportunity from here on to elections. Let me know if you guys need me or know any candidate or organization and maybe looking for someone like me. Proximo excerpt and final. She escalates to Dennis all the time. And yes, we've seen that card. This week, it's people hate working with all of you because we're so inflexible. You are so inflexible. She wants whatever she wants without raising. I mean, if that's the worst thing she can say. Now, if I had written, okay, that's the end. I'm going to put up this umbrella. Blah, blah, blah. The umbrella open to the screen is an indication. Excerpts from the Wiki DNC database are over. Now it's my editorial. I'm going to explain a few things, how I got to this text and why. So I get into the database and I just started searching some things. Now for me, cuss words are a good first stop. I did lunch, I did coffee, I did Starbucks, to get some sense of how big this database was. Hits on those common words were in the hundreds, not in the 4 digits, but in the 700s. Then I did some popular cuss words, bitch, asshole, fuck, and those hits were somewhere around coffee and lunch and Starbucks. So then I just had a bunch of dead ends that led me to boring text. I was ready to quit after about an hour. And then I tried searches in a bunch of different ways, attempting to get to, now this kind of stuff to me is conversational between two people. I do think that last text that I read is probably the most fun. It's just this kind of bitchy stuff. Forgive me for putting a gender on that. I really don't know if it's a man or a woman. It could be a bitchy man. So this is where I realized I was headed, because I found a couple of them and I knew I had the sense after an hour that was the best I was going to do. But I couldn't figure out how to get more. So listeners, this is how I got to this point. I chose a date, and the first date I chose seems to be after the database ended. So after this harvest. So I just picked a month earlier and picked a business day, and I ended up getting 15 pages of hits. I don't know how many emails that is, but hundreds. Not 4 digits, but hundreds. 15 times 10 would be 100. Yeah, it would be less than 4 digits of email. So then I just started reading through in a table setting, reading the column that had the email title. And my eyes began catching the ones that were shorter. The long ones tended to be long and more formal. DNC has plans for White House dinner at Cinco de Mayo. These are Hola. So these are the kinds of things that prove to be dead boring. So the shorter stuff tended to be conversational between two people, not one to many. The one to many stuff is really boring. Time, place, and occasion, it matches up. You're on that distribution list. It's probably relevant and not boring. However, for me, trying to make sense of this stuff, it was totally boring. So then this conversational stuff ended up surfacing relatively easy. So listeners, I'm going to turn this into a how-to. If anything I've read is of any interest, you'd like to find some more of your own, you go to the Wiki database. It's really easy. You pick a date and you look at the emails as they appear on your screen. Now, again, I burned an hour at least before I started doing this in a way that netted me this. So I'm going to read this last one again because it's just funny. She escalates to Dennis all the time. And yes, we've seen that card. This week, it's people hate working with all of you because you are so inflexible. She wants whatever she wants without raising. I mean, that's the worst she can say. So this sort of funny, nasty email is what I was looking for. So that's how I found it again. Go to the Wiki database, pick a day. I went my own thinking in that, choosing the smaller titles. If I write a friend like Adam or anyone in his office, my subject, I don't usually do. You know, this a guy in Philadelphia. I don't care. You use email for him, and my subjects are like Digame and Hola and stuff like that. So I figured the more casual conversations, the less restrained conversations that do show up in email, these ones are more likely to have short subjects. So that's how I got to that. So listeners, if you think you're going to change the world by surfing around in that database, highly unlikely. That's my opinion. If you think you might have a little bit of fun with it, there's no question about it. What I did, if you're still listening, give it a go. Or less. So still, I think however, I will. I've seen Miss Wasserman Schultz. Okay, so the Ms. Wasserman Schultz sounds like this is a formal level employee, and quite deep. So this is sending an editorial on what I'm reading here, and it goes on to say, until all votes are so listeners must resign. She was accused of stacking the cards unfavorably against Sanders. But here's a low-level person who seems that documents is owing. That's not 100% true. At least that message is getting out to the organization. Now, she may be backroom deals, doing just the opposite, but the DNC has testified by this email. I think this one's fun. I team, unfortunately, been with reporters. Everyone has one excuse. So if you're a reporter for the D, that's kind of a good excuse to get an email, I think. Craig there. We here duty deleted family name. Number. Know it. I searched for the name duty common database, a database of this, not one named Duty, and it did not. The word duty doesn't hit. The word Brogan, which is my middle name, does hit. It's a common family name. There is someone named Brogan who was referenced a couple of times in these emails. So I searched November Project, which is a good big grassroots organization that's active in Washington, D.C., and it's kind of maybe they pull from the DNC employees, and there'd be some chatter about November Project. I found none. I called a couple of the cell phone numbers. I got no answers. I texted one of them. The text did go through. Not sure what that means. I do get the sense this stuff is very real. These are the emails. I also searched for the word lunch, and I found relatively few references to lunch, you know, in tens of thousands of emails, you know, like the word lunch a couple hundred times. And then when I scan down, they're usually very business related lunches, you know, announcing a lunch at the White House maybe. And the, hey, Julie, do you want to go to lunch? The casual stuff, it's just not in the database. So people are using their cell phones for that, you know, personal one-to-one. They're not writing each other on their email. It's not that it's not there. It's just there in such low frequency that kind of casual, let's go to lunch, is not there in any kind of frequency that indicates I conclude that people are hesitant to use their DNC email for anything that's not business related. And it's mostly true. I have a feeling this one who wrote the Bishy email, the one that was the final, that person will probably keep track of who her audience was. I did it again. I call this person a woman. It's a woman or it's a bitchy man. So, anyways, that's it. It was fun. I was so close to abandoning this initiative. It's Sunday. It's raining. My wife is out of the country, and I've got time to burn. I'm a middle-aged American man. I'm a middle-aged American married man, and I quite honestly don't know what to do with myself today. So I was in the process of throwing away an hour and then producing nothing, and I ended up coming up with this. So I'm gonna do that final email again, which I think is funny, and then I'll say ciao. She escalates to Dennis all the time, and yes, we've seen that card. People hate working with all of you because you're so inflexible. She wants whatever she wants without raising. I mean, that's the worst thing I can say. If that's the worst thing she can say, fine. This has been Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.